All right, I'm about to wrap up our critical move series on how to complete your backswing. We've talked about what the body does or should be doing. We've talked about where the arms are supposed to be. We've talked about how the shoulders turn on a plane on an angle. All right, now let's talk about what the wrists do. Why is that important? Because the wrist and the position of the wrist control the club face. And I always tell people, if you have control of the club face, you have control of the golf ball. If you can't control your club face, you have no control of your golf ball. All right, so let's use some tour players as examples. Let's start with Dustin Johnson, because he's probably got the most unique left wrist position of anybody on tour. All right, his left wrist literally is almost at a right angle. I don't know how he does it. He must be double jointed his wrist. His wrist is literally at a right angle, or almost a right angle, to his lead arm. That's a closed club face. Brooks Koepka, he has kind of a bow in his left wrist. There's a lot of great players that do that, slightly closed. Neutral would be pretty much a flat left wrist. That's a neutral or a square club face. And then you see some crease where it's a little bit open. It's pretty darn hard to play good from there where you've got a cup in your left wrist. Let's define club face position. When the leading edge of the club is parallel to the ground, that's a closed club. When the leading edge is basically 45 degrees to the ground, left wrist is neutral. That's a square club face. And of course, this is an open club face. Really hard to find a good player with an open club face. Why? Because as the club comes down, you have to have the ability and the coordination timing to square the club face. Your rate of closure is so fast. You're going from open to close. And the problem with trying to play golf like that is you have big misses from right to left because the club face is closing so fast. My preference is basically anywhere from neutral to slightly closed because it's the easiest way to play golf from. And I'm always looking to make things as simple as possible. This game's tough enough. So really work on understanding your left wrist position. And of course, your grip influences that, but the left wrist, pretty flat, slightly bowed, easiest to play golf from. You can play with a crease in your left wrist, but you have to get it into a bow in transition. And that's great because guess what? Next week, I'm going to be talking about the transition into your downswing. And we're going to talk about that specific move to help you get that club face square so you can deliver it straight and hit good shots.